This is where ABC gave up and canceled the show in the US. And my end to Reboot when it originally aired. I was devastated when I didn't know what happened. I know the show was moved over to Cartoon Network, but I didn't have cable at the time. I finally saw the last 2 seasons when the DVD set came out. I was in the dark for nearly 15 years. Thanks to Mainframe not dealing with American TV anymore, they converted the show into a continuous running story arc. Bob is gone, Mouse stays and joins the group, Fong knows he's not the right administrator for the city anymore, and we know Dot is able to deal with stuff under pressure, so she was assigned as the new Command.com controller. It wasn't roses, the city still had no Guardian, except for Enzo, who was granted a Guardian in training upgrade at the end of Season 2. Enzo wasn't playing around anymore, but his anger for the loss of Bob made him do stupid things. This is where Enzo finally grew up. He took Damage Glitch and tried to be like Bob. He's inexperienced. Megabyte didn't care about him. Enzo had to deal with the city in ruins and GameCubes coming down. Season 3 expanded on how a lot of the internal workings and logic of the show are done. GameCube programs are treated as any of the people of Mainframe. If you're from a game, you can actually exit the game and exist along with the city. The character icons have a secondary mode called Game Sprite. It's a last-ditch move to protect yourself if you're about to lose a game. This is where Enzo meets Andrea, a fish girl from an underwater game who liked Enzo. She snuck out of the game with him. They became partners, trying to protect the city any which way they could. It didn't last long. We didn't get to know young Andrea for much, but she was the shoot first, ask questions later type, wanted to help people as much as she could, while Enzo doubted himself. Dot worrying about him, Andrea trying to help Enzo as much as she could. Even Frisket lended a hand to Enzo. He's just a kid trying to be a hero. It's not going to work. And he paid the ultimate price. One of the GameCubes causing the program to become unwinnable, forcing Andrea, Frisket, and Enzo to go into Game Sprite mode, leaving Mainframe with the program. Dot assumed Enzo died right at that moment, so they became lost. GameCubes, when won or lost, are unloaded and then sent to other cities or locations, so they act as transportation devices. Enzo and the others, game after game, try to get back to Mainframe. It kind of turned into Sliders for a few episodes. This was the turning point of the series. That fun, cheerful nature symbolized by Enzo, all gone when Enzo grew up, turning into Matrix. GameCube time is accelerated, gives a nice little answer to how they could be in games for hours, but it'd be a few minutes outside. Enzo, well, really Matrix now, became a different person. He didn't give a crap about anything. He wanted to get back home and didn't ask questions. He just shot first. While Andrea turned into the planner of the team, the old Enzo. You can't really blame Matrix. He lost his friend. I would go far as say Bob was Enzo's father figure to a virus for no reason. Games betrayed him. He doesn't know if his sister is dead. All he had was Andrea and his. It's a natural progression Enzo would go through. The world tainted his view on things. The show was a real downer for the entire season. The heroes would get one leg up, then get thrown 5 steps down. The only good thing that happened was Matrix was able to find Bob. Or I should say Glitch Bob. Matrix was never able to get Glitch repaired, but Bob was able to fuse with Glitch, becoming more powerful, as well as getting a new voice. Because of the whole ABC thing, along with Bob missing for a lot of the 3rd season, they didn't call Michael Benyer back, so they got Ian James Corlett, famous for being Cheetor in Beast Wars and the first English Goku, to be the new Bob. I can never hate Corlett, but it sucked. Bob changed when he was lost. He became more cold, unforgiving, which he saw in Matrix. The little boy is gone. So they have this really awkward union along with meeting the people who rescued him on the Saucy Mare. A funny group of pirates that was able to bring them back to the ravaged Mainframe. There's one more new character of note from Season 3. He's Ray Tracer, who's a literal web surfer, a search engine that's able to jump between the web. He's almost invincible. His body and surfboard are tied to each other, so if he's killed, as long as the board exists, he could regenerate. He's full of references. Silver Surfer from Marvel. His icon is based off the Motorola emblem, since his name comes from a brand of Motorola surfer modems. He's not a big character, but he's fun. He gives the show back the goofy nature, and he falls in love with Mouse. When we finally get back to Mainframe, the place is basically gone. Sectors are destroyed, power's failing, most of the people are dead, everyone comes back together for one last push against Megabyte. Hex abandoned him for what he did to the city in using her. Matrix finally wins and stops Megabyte, but not before Megabyte was able to destroy the city's core. The worst moment in any show I could think of. It's one of those scenes that sticks in your head forever, like how Optimus Primal got destroyed at the end of season 1 because of how far they go. We're literally watching Mainframe collapse and the characters die, and the only way they got out of it is the user reboots the system. It's the only time we ever heard the user directly do something. Everyone was restored from the system backup, so all the destruction erased. Everyone went back to normal, excluding Megabyte since he was a virus and was not a part of Mainframe's core systems. Reboot changed a lot of their characters but kept who they are intact. Even when they put the show in a more story-focused direction, no one ever felt out of place. They were the same sprites we loved all the way back in season 1. Their hardships made us yearn for those old seasons to come back. It is possible to change direction and tone without destroying the core essence of a series. I think Reboot is the shining example of pulling it off. However, Hex was not deleted. Thanks to Glitch Bob being able to stop her fragmentation problem, with Fawn giving her a system icon he objected of course, allowing Hex to be a part of the system restart. I still have one question. Megabyte wasn't restored because he was not a part of the system. Why was his lair back? He built it. After all this chaos and death, what did they do? Break out in song and then find a second Enzo because Matrix left his icon in game sprite mode, so he wasn't present in the system database, so the user restored a backup copy of original Enzo. That's one way to have your cake and eat it too. That's what I loved about the show. Who would have thought Hex becoming a part of the main cast? When we first saw her, she wanted to kill Bob because it would be funny. I even felt bad that Megabyte was gone, but that left the show open to the final season, or 2 movies depending on where you saw Reboot. The series was now animated in widescreen. Further improvements to CGI allowed more realistic facial animations. That was one of the things that felt off. Everyone looked better. They had much more detail on their bodies. Mouse showed that off the most. They just kind of looked too perfect. I think some of the improvements could have been scaled back. The older look suited them more better in my eyes. The first movie, or first 4 episodes, finally showed us the Guardians and Supercomputer. We only got to see that area in the opening credits. Basically what happened during Mainframe's war against Megabyte, the supercomputer and surrounding areas were taken over by Daemon. If you know Stargate, she's basically the Ori. She had the ability to control everyone, influence their minds with the word, infecting the entire Guardian system, besides Bob and Matrix, who moved on to act as training instructors. Daemon is what set everything in motion during season 2. She used this as a distraction to Mainframe and a test area. She's also the one who let Megabyte, Kilobyte at the time of capture, upgraded to Gigabyte when he escaped, and why Bob originally was assigned to Mainframe. The interesting part about this flashback, Michael Benyer came back to voice Flashback Bob, giving a little clue to what the last movie's story was going to tell. The first half of the season also showed us what happened to Los Angeles and Dot's father. He was doing an experiment to the city's twin sister. Of course, Dot's father was using a Stargate to do his experiments. When he activated it, he was the one who accidentally grabbed Gigabyte from the supercomputer, forcing him into Mainframe, splitting him up into Megabyte and Hexadecimal, while also nullifying the sister city and its people, which is where the Nulls came from and what happened to Dot's father. In return, Dot's father has always been on the show since day 1. He just couldn't talk. Over the course of season 3, Daemon infected the Guardians, them losing their ability to use their key tools like Glitch, following her word spreading through all the other systems. With her control of the supercomputer, it prevented places from going offline, so Mainframe and including Bob got infected by her virus. This was killing Bob in the process thanks to him being merged with his own key tool. One of Reboot's best moments happened with Hex. Over time, her virus status was removed and she became a normal sprite. She also became fond of young Enzo because of him being reset. He really didn't have any of the old memories of what happened, so he was the most open to her. With the most selfless act ever done, Hex went back to her corrupted state while she had the antivirus in her system, allowing her to send it through the web just before Daemon killed everyone. Unfortunately, Hex died in the process. Hex's redemption was on par with Dinobot becoming a true Maximal. The two teams really knew how to push their characters. That's what put the Mainframe company in the spotlight. I really liked her new pure design that she was given. It sucked she died, but she got to do one final crazy laugh. She was able to do an opening narration for the show on the end credits. This leaves us with the final movie, My Two Bobs. With Reboot's clever way to use situations as a basis of a story, My Two Bobs used the problem that occurred when Corlett took over for the voice role of Bob. In a strange event after the last movie, Ray Tracer found a second Bob, or the original Bob from seasons 1 and 2 with his original voice. No one knows what's going on. Was the Bob Matrix found that fused with Glitch a fake? Even Glitch Bob didn't know. Things were brought in question, like Glitch Bob was unable to reboot since he was changed by the fusion. Old Bob acted like original Bob. He would go on adventures with young Enzo, stopping GameCubes, while the show made fun of a ton of things, ranging from Pokemon to Star Trek. My Two Bobs brought the show back to its roots, dealing with GameCubes and young Enzo jumping on Bob. It almost felt perfect. A huge nostalgia trip. We got to see old locations that weren't done since season 1. It was a big day off episode. But why is there two Bobs? This is where the ultimate revenge happens. Glitch Bob tried everything to prove he was the real Bob, to the point of separating himself from Glitch. This went badly, causing Glitch Bob to be stuck in some sort of crystal. Even Dot jumped to conclusions and decided that she wanted to marry old Bob. So on the day of the marriage, Glitch Bob survived the change and reverted back to Bob's original look, with a now repaired Glitch, bursting in and stopping the wedding to burn even more. Glitch left Bob and went to the other Bob, making it look like Glitch Bob was the actual fake, when that was not the case. Glitch went to the other Bob to get back code that was lost when Glitch was crushed. So if its code was transferred and the only person that was in contact with Glitch was Megabyte, when Glitch transferred the code back into former Glitch Bob, the other Bob changed back into his true form. He survived the system core thanks to the Guardian code, mutating him into a Trojan virus, able to change into anything and anyone, from Bob to a Binome to Frisket, where he infiltrated the principal office and took control of the city. This was the last canonical use of Michael Binyar as Bob, except the story ended on a cliffhanger. This happened because they intended the season to be 13 episodes long, or 3 movies, but the budget was cut. So the writers opted to end the series on an unresolved cliffhanger. Till this day, Gavin Blair has never told us the intended ending to the series. Now, there was an official webcomic that continued the story right where season 4 left off. I read most of it. It was an interesting little arc that ended the series in a cool way, but whether it's officially counted towards the show is debatable. Some fans do, others don't. I personally don't count it as the true ending. I think that would only happen if the original writers and producers would come back and end it themselves. So that's where Reboot ends. There's no other series that continued the story. I repeat, there's no other series that continues the story. No! While Reboot has been forgotten over the years, fans of it will never forget what it brought to TV. I'm not talking about CGI animation. It's not a kid's show. It's an everyone show. It proved that you can take something aimed for kids, but create a sophisticated journey without sacrificing intelligence, weaving in comedy, using everything in the book to your advantage. Thanks to Reboot, I was fascinated by computers. I wanted to know what they labeled things was accurate or not. I highly suggest checking out Reboot. Look past the limited CGI of the time. Watch it for those characters. One of the things I thought about when Binyar came back to voice Bob, Corlett was let go of the role. I think if the show had gotten a third movie, Corlett would have been perfect to voice upgraded Glitch alongside Bob, keeping both of them for the final run of the series. And let me be real this time. Reboot, the Guardian Code, was an insult to this franchise. It gave no respect towards the creators or the fans. It had no soul or heart. It was made to capitalize on a fan base that wanted closure, or at least a clean slate with a new good series. Instead of honoring the show, it perverted it into a Code Lyoko ripoff. Its only good thing? An example of abusing a franchise. Don't watch it. Thanks for checking out the video. Subscribe if you want to see more from me. And if you remember a movie or show that's long been forgotten, good or bad, leave it as a suggestion below. I'm always on the lookout for obscured stuff. Game over.